and breathe in 20% more than you normally do. Fill your lungs with prana. Prana is the life force that animates our avatar, our bag of water, our little mud puppet. How do we feel good? What is good? What is doing good? Why is you're doing well instead of you're doing good? Good is what you do for other people. Well is how much money you put in your pocketbook. Well is what you think people think of you. They think well of me. Because I am mean, cruel, and I got their nuts in my hand. We think well of Henry Kissinger and Poppy Bush and Obama. We feel well about them. We feel good about our dog because our dog unconditionally loves us. Even when we are feeling bad. And what is bad? Bad is when you're not being good. I mean, I am, Al Bob, Santa's younger brother. And I'm starting up slow here because, every morning I wake up and I'm in tremendous pain and I have to meditate for a good 15, 20 minutes. And then I go make JB his breakfast. I share my meal. The best thing you can do with a meal is share it with something, breaking bread. I mean, that is, everything is a ceremony. Otherwise, it's just a job. And, a job is not an adventure, job is, basically slavery. You do something you don't want to do and they give you money and then, but when you do things for people and you try to make them happy, even if it doesn't make them happy, making someone happy, you can't, as my mother would say, you can't, I gotta brush my teeth. You can't, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can try everything you can to make someone happy, but you can't make them happy. And Christmas now is about, the GDP of the military-industrial Christmas complex, and it's not about celebrating the Prince of Peace, the Prince of Love, the one human avatar who on this earth reached the pinnacle of being awake, of being co-creating with love, And if you go see that movie, The Life of Brian, I think that's what it really speaks well. Brian is a total goofball, but he's right there with Jesus, Yet he's what it's about. And I make these videos not to be like PewDiePie or whatever that guy is. The guy, he puts up a video in 2 hours, 5 million people are looking at it. No, I don't do that. I do it because I know the folk who will look at it will be happy. Will get something from it, and they will be that pebble in the pond that will move the frequency a little further, right? So today's morning stroll through my consciousness is, so we visited the darkness of the 8 kings of magic, right, last night. and quality rather than quantity. Exactement, right? And um, and I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it to you know bring see, Jesus is not coming back. He never left. The more we make each other happy by our actions rather than me giving you a guitar that thought, oh, this is my favorite guitar. I love playing this guitar. This guitar completes me. Well, I'll give it to you. And you don't know how to play a guitar. You leave it in the corner. The cat shits on it. And then the dog jumps on it and breaks it into a million pieces. And your mom thinks it smells and she throws it out. And you go, what happened to the perfect guitar? You did what? Ah! No. You don't make people happy by giving them gifts. And I used to think, all I get for Christmas is socks and a sweater and a hat, and gloves. And well, I needed them more than whatever toy I thought I needed, right? So I actually, and I'd be walking around going, my toes are warm. Thank you, Mom. Oh, I mean, Santa. Thank you, Ingrid. I mean, Santa. I know, I could tell who gave me the gift, even though it said Santa on how it was wrapped. You know, if it was wrapped meticulously, like a brain surgeon, but it had cigarette ashes on it, that was my Aunt Gracie. If it was wrapped like oh, an angry bull wrapped it, that was my mother. But it too was kind of perfect, kind of, and had cigarette ashes on it. That was my mom. If it was wrapped like Leonardo da Vinci did it, that was my dad. So but that all said Santa anyway. And by the time I was 7 or 8, I actually enjoyed the wrapping. I would like, my mother said, "Why don't you open your presents?" "Oh, I'm just looking at the wrapping," you know. And she would like go like this, and my father would smile, and my Aunt Gracie would like be proud, and and then I would take them apart and see how it was wrapped. And then I would open up socks, underwear, sweater, Aunt Gracie. Um, my dad would try and give me things he thought I liked. There'd be a box of resistors and capacitors in there, and everyone, except my uncle Steve, and my father would say, "Steve, what kind of thing should I get out?" And Steve would go into his little laboratory and pull out, a box of resistors and capacitors and a couple of transformers. Oh, you could use these. I mean, that's how my Christmas went. The only time I ever really got some wild, crazy ass presents was on my first communion. So go figure. Anyway, so so here we are getting close to Christmas, and I'm thinking of it, and I'm seeing people stress out over it, right? And I think I told you a little story about I was in my friend's bakery, and these two people who were obviously in their 50s, 60s, but obviously they were like teenagers. It was pretty obvious that they haven't been married too long, and they were talking about they each had families from other spouses, right? And this was the first year that all their kids and grandkids from those kids were going to show up at their house. And they were getting like all these, the laptops and the this and the that, and they were going through their list of what they had to get these kids. And they're kind of stressing out over it. And the guy went to use the facilities, and the wife was there. And they were very obviously different. The guy actually he was a dentist. I could tell by the swell of his back. And how he cut his food, very meticulous. Dentists are very meticulous people. And she was a Southern belle, and she was still very attractive for whatever 50ish she was. And yes, now capacitors in plug circuits, the little barrel guys, and they hold a charge, and then you'd stick them to people and give them a charge. Anyway, so bottom line, I when they came out, I said to the folk, forget about the presents. Um, you know, get a memory for them. Well, what are you talking about? And I said, there's a place called Peaks and Bottom. It's a great hotel, has no TVs, no cell phones, no nothing. It's up in the mountains. Every room has a fireplace. They stock it with wood. And they have this really beautiful Christmas thing. Go bring everybody up there. Get 3 or 4 rooms and go up there. And as I'm telling this, and I'm talking about memories are the greatest present, um, he goes on his little smartphone and he says, I've done it. And I go, what do you mean? He says, I just, the day before Christmas Eve, Christmas, and the day after Christmas, I got 3 rooms with fireplaces and the meals and the whole package. They had a 4-day package. I got the whole day package for everybody. And I said, yep. And so they were so excited. I said, and all the presents, just put in the garage and send them to them over the year. So they get them out of the blue. Keep the Christmas wrapping on it. And they just went out like teenagers, right? And all week long, I've been spotting people like that and giving them, little bits of Christmas cheer of that nature, right? That's when you are Santa's younger brother, Bob Claus, that's my job. So, but when you get so skitzed out about, oh, the responsibility of, well, I have, I just wanted to be, do whatever I wanted to do. And now I have children and I have to be responsible. No, that's not why you have children. You have children because they teach you, you know, they make you a better person, not a worse person. And when they make you a worse person, well, you shouldn't have had those children. You know, they make you get a driver's license, for a car. You got to get a license for your dog. You don't have to get a license to have a kid. So, my little thing. So, I've been, listening to all this stuff about Christmas. And then the news about, the coming apocalypse and every religious person said, and John 39 of blah, blah, blah. And the Quran says this, and that book says that, and blah, 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 blah. And all these books are good, especially from whence they came. But once they became a business plan, once they were a religion, once they were that, you know, it was done on purpose because the thing that the powers that shouldn't be, the secret hand, the hidden hand, and the ruling class that we don't even know, the ruling class of insectoids, um, you know, they think if they get the sheeple so stirred up and running around and whacking each other for being in different tribes, they can put forth, oh, well, look, everything's so screwed up. We have this new world order, and they've been talking about it. You go way back into 1400s. They're talking about it. Who's that guy who saw the future? He was talking about it, right? And he not so much was seeing the future, he was laying it down, you know? So, uh, arf. So, that's why I do this, YouTube. Because I know, look at all you guys, you are of the right heart, not the right mind. You can tell your minds are all over the place because even though you're a cadre, you're all our relations, you have all these different opinions. And what I love about you guys is that no one trolls each other. You know, you kid each other, you control each other, but you love each other. And that's what's good about the chat. And so last night we went into, the kingdom of the eight kings of magic, right? The darkness. We went to the kingdom of darkness. And that's darkness. And in the beginning, all things were dark, right? And we think of the dark as evil. No, it's not. It's the premortal. What came first? What is? And so the guys, those eight kings in there, they seem evil and bad, and from the context of your fear, they are, because the insectoid owners of the universe, at least at this time, and they're not the first. The people who think they're in power, their biggest problem is they have no empathy. They're at the top. They think everyone else is below them, and they have no empathy. They do things for their own self-interest. Yeah, oregano. I love oregano. That and grapefruit seed are my two, things I use the most. Yep, intent. That's it, Jamie. Your lovely intent. That's what we all have. Lovely intent, loving intent. And yes, we may not have a lot of money, we may not have this, but we are all doing good. Not well, good. Because when you're doing good, you're doing it for someone else, not yourself. When you're doing well, you're lining your pockets, You're stepping on people. You're doing well. Within the context of how we do things, intent is very important. That is like the umbrella. And then we have a box full of tools like grace and gratitude and humility and empathy and laughter and a sense of humor, and there's this really interesting dynamic of self-deprecation and humor and all of those things, because making fun of someone else, not good. It's like being well. Making fun of yourself to the point where you kind of, everyone shies away and doesn't want to look, makes you uncomfortable. That's not good. It's that Goldilocks place of comedy, right? What's your intent, young man? Well, Jane, I have to tell you this. I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but not men, guys, not boys, not men, guys, just their dogs. Your dog humps your leg all the time. That's basically a guy. Now, if you have somebody who's like a little more mellowed like wine, and you don't have to be old as me to be mellowed. I was a good tasting wine when I was 19 to 60, and then I started getting even better. But it's the intent that is that thing that you're looking for, right? What's your intent, right? But the average guy just wants to hump your leg, So give him a piece of furniture. That's just tell him don't make a mess. So, and guys are they're such putzes because look at pornography. People get religious about pornography one way or the other. Either they're whacking off all the time or that's a sin. No, what it is people doing well off the misery of others. People who make porno, those folks in the films are not happy folks. They go, oh, I think I told you the story. I lived in the Una Bear Gallery on Broome Street in West Broadway in Soho before it was Soho with Jane and Phil Bear, who were two amazing folks. They were like artists. They were the, you know, artists in the first person, the Savage. They came from. They both came from the Midwest. Both their parents, all four of them were like Methodist and Presbyterian ministers. The salt of the earth, da 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 da. And they went off to. They wanted to be artists. They went to Cal Arts. They went to Berkeley. They were both involved in that whole '60s scene, right? And then they came to New York in the '70s. And that's when I met them, and we had a communal artist gallery that we lived in. In the first couple of years, the rent was real cheap. And then it became Soho, and the lawyers moved in, and the rent went through the roof, just like San Francisco today. All you Silicon Valley kids, and to pay the rent, it was a gigantic space. It had great light, and there was this one big wall that Phil and I built. There was that TV show, Hollywood Squares. Well, we built 9 little boxy apartments right on top of it, just like Hollywood Squares. I mean, the ceiling was 30 feet high, so each one got a 9 by 9 square. And it was very similar to the Japanese hotels at the airport that you feel like you're in a paste. And everyone we had meals together. And these people were all wanted to be artists, but they had to be a secretary or work in an office, but they wanted to be artists. They wanted to be rock and roll artists. They wanted to be. So this gave them that place where they could be in the art world, because we had openings and shows virtually at least once a month, and every Friday we had the potluck dinner salon, the Unibert salon, and so that was when that environment was right between when years before that, 2 or 3 years before that, I was living in Lower East Side, right, which is what a really great movie to go see, gang, is Across the Universe. It really shows that scene between 1961 and 1971. But porn. So, we had to rent out every, place we could in our gallery. And we had the basement. The basement was like, the catacombs. It really was. And because this building was built before electricity. So the basement went out into the street. And the sidewalks all around us were cast iron with this big, thick glass in it. So it was like a skylight into the basement. And it was quite nice. And I used it for my shop, and we did other things down there. And this French guy rented from us for a ridiculous amount. I'll give you $2,000 a month for that. And we said, yeah. He goes, I just need, and there was we put a separate door for him off the hallway of the building to get down there. And he was happy. Well, it wasn't too long till we started hearing, like late at night, the rattling of chains and the crack of whips and people going, harder, Gilles, harder. So we said, something's, but that's okay. He's paying us $2,000 and no one's dying. So, and the police never showed up, so it was all fine. So about 3 years after we were there, because we were paying month to month, like $200 or $300 for this place, the lawyers move in. And somebody buys the building and wants $5,000 a month for the ground floor. And he said, to go from $200 to, And they said, well, what are you going to get out? And I said, listen, you're a putz from Connecticut, and daddy bought this building for you, and you don't know anything about it. This thing's about to blow up, right? The electricity was put in like 1908. And the gas lines are ancient. And listen, you want to make some money out of this, you let me put all new electricity in the building. And then my little cadre of fellow artist construction folk, we will build lofts. And then you can rent those suckers out. Each floor will slice up into 3 lofts. Each one you can get $5,000 out of. There's 6 floors here. You can make some serious money. Just let us. We'll pay you $700. That's like the carrying fee. and we have it for 5 years, right? And he said, okay. And he still paid us, paid me for doing it, but we gave him a deal that he couldn't, and he made a ton of money. Then he loved coming to the openings and being Uncle Larry for the girls and all of that. He then got, instead of being the ugly one, he was just Uncle Larry. But when I had to put the electric service in, I had to put a real electric service in, so I had to, dig into the street, go into the Edison vault, bring in what are known as Edison bars, meaning you put trough. It's just not wires. It's like copper bars, and it's on insulated, the metal box, you put it in, the insides, and, it takes a guy like me to do it. It's old school. And because of what part of town it was and the way the Edison box, cave was a cave rather than the kind of things they have uptown, you needed a guy like me to do that. Meaning, if you went and got my boss to do it, he would have probably charged you 40 grand just to put in the service, And then we had Guild. This was a company that made meter bases, like all of them in one thing. So we had like 30 meters in that building. So anyway, it was a pretty complicated job just out in the basement, So I filed it, brought the engineers in from Edison and the city. We got on the same page. And I worked with these guys for the last, 7 years. I was Grandpa Stahl's boy, a lot of the work I would do. Oh, Al's doing it. I won't even have to go look, right? Because I made sure, even that when I got to a point where when I had my license and they would, oh, Al's doing it, not a problem. I still did it to the highest level of quality, and they knew that, right? Well, this was a big service. So anyway, we all meet on the sidewalk. Everything's on the arm in New York. I never gave anybody money, but I knew which bagels these guys liked, and I went to their favorite bagel store, and I brought a thermos of really good coffee from Mr. Manacho down this, they will be buzzed for the rest of the day with that thermos of coffee, and I bought them one Christmas thermoses. So when they would come to a job they would inspect for me, they would bring their empty thermos, and I'd have another thermos from Mr. Magabo's coffee shop, and I would give them, and they'd have it. Wow! So I would do things like that. I made people happy. That made things move smoothly. It wasn't just money, right? And that's why Mike Finelli, the godfather of that whole neighborhood, loved me like a grandson. I was his grandson, right? Because I did everything for him like that, right? Anyway, so we go down into the basement where Gilles is, and the stairs come down to right where the meters are. So the meter guy can just come down the stairs and read the meters, and there's another wall and a door into where Gilles' thing is, right? So we go down there, and we see what are known as ticos. Those are big, heavy cables, right? Like welding cables, and they have like these kind of springy alligator clips that you would have to charge your car, but they have a screw on them that tightens them so they can't just spring open. They're called ticos. And so there's ticos right on the Edison bars before the meter, like a no-no. That's like, and they look at me and go, Al, you didn't do this. You couldn't, this isn't you. I said, yeah, let's. And so I'm like trying to say, no, I'm looking at it, and I turn around and they're gone. And they have followed the Tico cables to where they're going. And I, follow the cables, go through the door. This big shaft of light is coming in. And there's Gilles making a porno movie. And they got these, there are about 12 to 20 girls there. And half of them are fluffers, and they're working on the guys to keep them hard. And they're the two inspectors with their pants down around their knees, getting worked on by the prettiest fluffers of the group, right? And they're like drinking the coffee and getting fluffed. And Gilles comes over to me and goes, these guys just came in. They say with their city, so what could I do? I said, yeah, you probably did the right thing. Anyway, so I said, guys, when you're done, I'll be on the other side. I got things to do. So I go over there. And they come back in about 20 minutes and, wow, that was great. We got to do that again. I said, well, whatever. I said, did you meet Gilles? Oh, yes. Well, I mean, it's okay. You can probably go down there anytime he does a movie. So, and I gave them the combination. It was one of those doors that you hit the combination to get in. Anyway, but so that made solidified for me that Gilles doing porno movies down there, not just being kinky at night. I'm sure he was kinky because he looked like an old. He looked like you know Colonel Sanders with a French accent. He always wore a white suit. And had he looked like a really tall, thin Colonel Sanders speaking with a French accent. I use Gilles anyway. So I saw what that was right, and I manufactured those little gizmos for peep shows, and I went to NYU a lot and studied psychology and studied sociology and studied art and history because I would just go and sit in, and hang out with the pretty girls and listen to them. And that's boys. That's all you got to do is listen to women. A, they usually have a lot more interesting things to say than other guys because other guys goes, life sucks, I just want to kill myself, oh, why is there use of living, where the girls are like talking about what interests them. That's why I like hanging out with women. They're way more interesting than guys. Now every so often there's a interesting guy and he's probably like me, has a few more female things going on in his head, right? So you know innovation is the mother of invention, not the father. So anyway, I met a woman named Annie Sprinkle. It was like Annie Gottlieb at NYU, but she so in the sociology class and the psychology class, and we were both interested in why society was as screwed up as it was. There had to be a way. I mean, look, we're taking these classes. They say it's a science. You can just figure this shit out. If we just figure it out, it'll work. Anyway, one of the things she really kind of, because she was back in the day. I mean, I don't know what she looks like today, but I would bet you dollars. She's my age, so I bet you dollars to donuts. She is still pretty hot because she was just smoking. So we used to go out, and every place we go out, if I walked away to get a drink or something, there'd be guys like hitting on her, and so she was like, eh. And I remember one time we were uptown, and the girls were out, and she goes, what's, and I said, those prostitutes, and those guys over there, they're Johns, and so I want to talk to them. I said, well, okay, I'll walk with you. She goes, come with me, so they won't beat me up. And I'm going, hmm. So we go there, and she starts talking, and she had an affinity with these girls. Like, you know, I mean, she was like the hot looking version of me in a female kind of way. I mean, that's why we were like brothers and sisters. I mean, we were like, we just had so much. We laughed and it just had a great time. And we had a little bit of a spark, but it was more that we just really cared about each other and wanted the best for each other and loved sharing our going out and going to a movie and talking about books and stuff, going to lectures. And that's why I went to NYU and the New School and all schools that were around me, that they were just interesting. I didn't go to matriculate to get a piece of paper. I went to learn something, meet people, find a teacher. I've always been one who enjoyed having a teacher, a mentor, right? Someone to tell me a story. So she really got into sex workers and into women in general who are put in, the wrong side. And there was another person in our school for social sciences. I think it was at the New School. Who this woman was really, she was like Mother Teresa, and she started the first women's shelter in New York State because New York State legislature said that women, they didn't need any kind of help like men did, like down on the Bowery, the Mission, because they would have a man to take care of them. Come on, guys, really? Even in 1969, I was like, no, this is anyway. So that person started. So Annie and I and a bunch of other folks from the new school in NYU would work there because this woman had no money. But like I said, she was like Mother Teresa. So I really saw firsthand, and I was like at that women's shelter, I was like the only guy who worked. I built it. I was a contractor. My friend talked me into, she got a space. She talked somebody into giving them a space, and she talked me into renovating the space so it would be fine for women. And, those kind of shelters need, the front door, a place where they're greeted, a place where they're semi assessed, place where they can get something to eat, and then a place where they can take a shower, get new clothes, and then a day room that they can feel safe, and then a place for them to sleep. And that's kind of so we had to have different rooms and areas and facilities, and I did all that. So I couldn't do it like a job, like within. So what needed to be done, we built first. So I was always there building and fixing and doing things, and I got those women to help me. And that's where, when I had my electric business, I pretty much only hired women because I found that they were so much better than guys. Their intent was much better. So, but that's really where I saw the downside of pornography because, A, it's a criminal enterprise. The person who gets the worst part out of it is the woman. I mean, both the what I saw, everyone who was involved in that business suffered from PTSD. Women, the worst. Guys, also. The promoters, every element was terrible. And then the people who were watching it, they were, mentally attacked. And so this whole, why it's the oldest profession in the world is because guys are that way. Guys just want to hump a tree. Guys don't have the proper intent. Men do, young boys do, but from 9 to death, if you're a guy, not so much. And every male of the species of Homo sapien sapien is a moron and a guy, a good, if they're evolved, maybe 5% of the time. If they're just your normal guy, they are that 80% of the time. When you see guys kind of holding their junk or jiggling their legs when they're sitting down, they're looking for stimulation. It's like a dog humping a tree. So there are all of these things within our social dynamic that are like that, criminal to the human race. And war and crime, meaning the power, not the powers that be, but the owners, the insectoid owners, they manifest crime. I mean, if you have a job, if you have something to live for, you don't commit crime. You don't do drugs. Why do you do drugs? Because you have a hole in your heart and you're trying to fill it. And then you get addicted. You don't have the money to get your fix. You have to fix that hole. So you commit crime. And then the more jonesing or strung out, you'll do anything. You'll kill, rape, pillage. You're no longer, when I worked as for the Housing Authority of New York, I saw a lot of people who were like not even human. They were driven to animalistic characteristics, right? When I worked as a court entry officer, I was the shrinky one. There was the DA guy, the sheriff guy, and me. And, I pretty much worked the night shift. And all of these jobs I've had because I was in doing social research for someone within the context of a university or a nonprofit. And I would be asked, hey, do you want to do this? You can make some money at that, and we need somebody to do this. Now, Buddy, I have to say that drugs for you are like a fine wine. You know, if you can string a sentence together like you do for us, you aren't the animal. You aren't strung out. You may get a little anxious once in a while, but other than that, no. Exactly. So, Bud, you're a guy who can speak to what I'm talking about. You've been there. You've seen it. You know. All capitals. Ow. So that's why we're doing what we're doing, because this is so antecedent to the rest of the universe. And that's why I'm not like, oh, I need a zillion hits, because I'm looking for quality. I'm looking for intent. And we are like the magnificent 225, you know, of the cadre. And we are all dropping. We are the. We are dropping love. That's what we're dropping, and we are the pebble in the pond. And as Martin says, we are the tsunami of love. So that's why I do this. You know, because I know that I can feel your intent just through this screen here, and I know you know I'm not worrying about how am I going to pay my bills, or what am I going to do next, or I did this for 30 years and nobody no, because I know I live for every minute of the day to do better and better. Bondo monkeys are full time, but soon won't do. My mother's everyone else is for your king. Sons, dads, sisters, they're hilarious. Yep. And we're just those kind of monkeys. We just wear clothes. Yes, drugs per se is a bad scene. That's why they're called drugs, right? Whereas, sacrament is a different story, a little bit. And, some people, like, I have friends who are, spent years as alcoholics and then got themselves on the wagon and they had to do a 12-step program or some kind of program or something, because you can't do this. You can't break that kind of addiction all by yourself. Can't do it. You need help. And I was that help for many people. So I'm very aware of people's weaknesses. And so there's a party, and I know there's going to be people who can't drink. Well, I'm sure to have something that has no alcohol in it, right? I buy, McDougal's beer, non-alcoholic, and have cider, non-alcoholic. And I don't make a big deal out of it. It's just very obvious, right? I put the alcohol over at another table and I put the bottles out with the ice cubes, and it's obvious. And then there's punch and this between it, and then there's that. It's all on the same table, but it's on two different ends, and so and everyone there is respectful and cares about each other, and their intent is to have a good time without making anyone feel bad. Yeah, as I said, habits are hard to get over, but with help and support from a community, you can overcome anything. You can do anything in community. Never go in the outdoor. Well, whatever works, right? And I don't judge, and I try to give as many opportunities. Um, that's why what we do here is we're not looking for any particular. The only person we're looking for is somebody with good intent, not looking to do well by themselves. Oh, so again, here we are in Christmas, and the intent has been solid, solid, dirtied. Um, love's intent is just a shadow. You know, whereas we can go out there and this holiday, from this day forth, for the next 365. I mean, I celebrate Christmas 365. I wear that funny hat 365. When people look at me and I keep this long beard, A, because I'm lazy, but it makes, when people look at me, they think of Santa Claus. And I see it in their eyes. I go, oh, no, I'm not Santa. I am Bob Claus, Santa's younger brother. And then I go into the whole trip about keeping the naughty and nice list and let me look at your palm, da da da. And little kids look at me like, it's Santa. And I go, no, it's not Santa. I'm Santa. And Santa does exist. And I point to their heart. In your heart, that's where Santa is. I will keep Santa in my heart all year long. And that's what I do all year long. So that's Christmas. We keep it 365. I'm having a coffee with eggnog. That's a proper temperature. Yum, yum. And I don't drink that all year long, but I can drink it 4 or 5 days before Christmas. You know, and I don't eat cookies, but if I have really good cookies from my friend who has a bakery, or from somebody's grandma, I can have one or two. You know, in this season because I can enjoy them. I don't just stuff that whole. I nibble at it. People, when I go out to lunch or breakfast or dinner with people, we order, we get it. They're like me. I'm just nibbling at it and talking and telling stories. And they're all done. They're ready to go. And I haven't even had my salad yet, because I enjoy my food. Because I don't eat when I was swimming in the chocolate mousse swimming pool, yeah, I stuffed that hole. That's the only way you can consume 1,000 calories in a day for 10 years, is stuffing it in the hole. Yep, too much. I love seasonings. And that's why I like a crock pot. I start out, man, you have to cook things down. You can't just sizzle it and then eat it. You have to, it's alchemy. You mix all those flavors. That's why I have a crock pot. I start out Sunday with this and then cook it down. John goes, oh! I said, no, John, can't eat that till tomorrow. It's got to cook down. But I'll make another meal. He can go, oh, that. And then what's left over, I throw in the crock pot. And every day I keep doing that. And so by Tuesday, it's pretty amazing. Oh, yeah, Aztec chocolate. Yum, yum. Well, everybody's got their own chocolate. Like you go to Mexico. Back in the day when all you needed was your freaking, you know, driver's license, and the CIA didn't run the place. Mexico was loads of fun. I loved that place, and I went deep into the hills. I didn't stay on the coast and stay in the party places. I went and lived. I went with a friend of mine who was he looked native. I mean, he was a nice Jewish boy, but he looked native, and he spoke fluent Spanish. And anywhere I go, if everyone's speaking another language, and if I'm there for a week, I can communicate. I have this little part of my brain that if all I'm really a guy. Some people have photographic memories. Well, I have a tape recorder in my head, so that's why I'm a good negotiator. Why I'm a good counselor is because I listen to everything that's said, every single frigging word, and I can play it back to you, and that freaks people out. No, you said this, and you said that, and this is what you said, and that gets people's attention quite quick. Don't give up your power. There's good medicine and bad medicine, but we don't talk about it. This is so true, Jamie. Everyone, I mean, People talk about, oh, I'm so sad I got divorced. Well, why did you get divorced? Why didn't you stay married and work it out? My parents were married for 78 years. And half that time they wanted to kill each other, but they had 6 kids. You think Bronson was Polish? Oh, I think Bronson was just Bronson, you know. The Cree are great people. Every indigenous people are great people. And what's interesting, they're in their native language. All the names of all those peoples translate back to human being. Like I said, whenever you have to fill out a form and it asks you what race you are, put human. Ugh. So we've been talking for almost an hour. It flies by so sweetly. So guys, hit the 8 of you, hit that like button a little bit more, and do get some folk who have the right intent. And if you're living in America, you want me to come and visit, I'm ready to go, man, because I can't stay up here. And if it really gets cold and snowy, boy, I really can't stay here. Right now, I mean, we had that 40 inches of snow and I got stuck downtown. And that was, a whole nother surreality. But it was okay. I mean, I met and did things I had to do. That's why that's how I roll. Wherever I am, there I am. Wherever I am there to make people happy and to do good. Not do well by myself, but do good. So the other thing I ask you is, have any of you gone and looked at, the other day I received a Gmail from one of our cadre, and he sent me a video, about half an hour long, of what our meditations have done for him. And what was truly amazing was that he was still in meditative state, meaning it affected him so much, even after I snapped my fingers and said, okay, everybody back, because I think he saw it not when the chat was going, but later, meaning watching it from the recording on the channel, it affected him amazingly, right? And so he made a video, he finished watching it. He was in meditative state. He thought about it, wrote some things, he was still there. And then he said, well, I'm going to send this guy a video. And he did. He made like I said, about half an hour. And you should go watch it because it's pretty amazing. So I would love it if you went and watched it. And I was glad, that was the first one I got of that. And I was saying this last night. If you folks could go watch it, see what that was, see how it rings, and if it harmonizes with you, if you say, yeah, I need to do one of these, and then again, go into state without me physically guiding you here at this. You could go watch whichever one of those guided meditations in the last week really affected you the most, whether it was Fairyland or Death or the Mystery Land or the Land of Kings, whichever it was, go into that state with your guide by your side, because those doors you got to go through with somebody, not just by yourself. I don't want you lost. And this is like a rule I'm putting down. If you go into those, the only place you can go in by yourself, and because you're not in there by yourself, you're with love's co-creation, is your sanctuary of your own choosing. The rest, you have to go in with the guides coming out of the fireplace, right? You raise your hand and say, I'll do that, yes. Right. And that's the only, I keep saying that, our relationship of sensei and adept is adept and sensei. It goes both ways. But there are certain times when I listen to my senseis and masters and do exactly what they say. And that's one of the little ones I am going to, I'm such a marshmallow. I'm not going to put my foot down because I can't, but I am saying, hey, listen to your sensei Alba. Don't go into those places without the protection of your guides and your master that comes out of the fireplace. Okay? Okay. I'm hearing you all say, yes, sensei, we will do that. Okay, good. So, whatever it takes, go see one of those, experience that again, or just do it in your head. It's right there in your Akashic record. That's the other thing. Everything you experience in state is in the Akashic record. Open it up, go to the page, look on the screen, see the 28 little screens, because everything in the Akashic record is there for you to see, to get context. Because when you experience things in your 5 sense illusion world of the meat puppet, that's why you can be led astray, right? So, two little, announcements. A, don't go into any of those doors without protection and your guides and your master with you. And B, look at everything that you experience in state in the Akashic record. Look at everything that's going on in your life when you go to the library in the Akashic record, because it'll give everything, all of that angst and anger and fear that you put in the Akashic record. You go through those doors, and you have to do that because if you have any of that energy inside of you, those little, sprites and demons in there will take advantage of it. That's why I have you do that. And again, I'm making it a big issue right now about you have to protect yourself when you are in those states. When you go through those doors. When you are in your library, you're surrounded by protection. When you go into your sanctuary of your own choosing, your superconscious mind, you are surrounded by protection, but the other ones, not so much. So, and that's a challenge. That was Mickey Mouse, right? He got the brooms to do his chores, but then it got carried away. You don't want to be like Mickey Mouse, that's for sure. You don't want to be Mickey Mouse. And back, right, where is it? So into fairyland. Human beings, yep. Bronson's Polish. And it's not so much obedience, it's service to your better self. That's what it is. Don't see it so much as obedience, service. You're doing it not because you feel obligated or fearful, but you feel love. That's service. Love is service. When I was in the ashram in Putney, and I did all the work, all those other guys, I didn't do all the work, meaning I knew that all of my other Padawans there, everyone had something they liked to do because it made them feel special, right? I did all the stuff that nobody wanted to do, right? And it made me feel, I worked in the garden. There were 3 other people who liked the garden, but not the heavy work, just to go in and get their fingers dirty and pick the vegetables. There's an amazing rush you get when you grow the food you make and you pull it out of the ground and you look at that carrot, and then you take it in, clean it off, and eat it. That's where health comes from. But I did all the things I did, not because I felt I needed to be, obedient. It's because I served. And that service made me happy. Because my sensei, I could feel him just looking out the window, smiling as I raked the paths, when I collected the firewood, when I made the fires. He would come in. I'm 6 in the morning. I'm the fire in the dining room, the fire in the kitchen, the fire in the wood stove, heating the fire for the hot water. And, a lot of people who would take a shower would go, thank you, Al. But a lot of people wouldn't. They would, because they were used to going into their house and using it all up. And there were 3 people who would use the hot water up. And one of them was so that way that within a couple of weeks, Sensei said, okay, you can leave. Because that guy thought everybody owed to take care of him. He was special. He was, that's why I have a real problem with America's concept of exceptionalism. Because that lie basically allows everyone to lie, cheat, and steal and hurt everyone around them because they're exceptional. Again, I keep saying, if it feels good in your heart, it's good. You're good to go. Because even if you're the most slimeball person, because, I've been around a lot of slime balls, they know when they're doing something wrong, you know? And happy Friday. Again, yes, we are always protected, but some places are a little heavier than others. So you have to go in that with intent. Like, I learned from my sensei in Putney, martial arts, and I'm a pretty good jiu-jitsu guy, pretty good at kung fu, pretty good tai chi and qigong, right, which are also martial arts. But the bottom one thing that my sensei was always like, Al's got it, was my intent with every. In Tai Chi, why Tai Chi is a martial art is that every step you put your foot down, you have to have intent. That's why it's called a form. You go in with intent. So, when you go into a really dark, nasty place, if you don't have the intent to, if you're like do 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 do, that's when you get hit upside the head with a 2x4. But if you got your 360 on and you're seeing where everything is, you see all those movies and the guy before he starts throwing punches is like, okay, he's over there, and then in slow motion you see him punch that person, grab this person, throw him over there. That's intent. So if you have that kind of intent, well, you have that kind of protection. If you don't, that's why you have to take your guides and your master with you. When you go, especially, into the land of death and in the kingdom of darkness of the 8 kings of magic, yes, you kind of need a little more special protection, right? I'm always with you. I'm always watching out for you. But hey, I'm way over here, and I'm not like an ascended master. I am just your Sensei Al Bob. Okay, so, and my thing is to be your griot, tell you the story, give you the 411. That's what I do best in this motif. When we are together, when we can sit around the fire and do ceremony and sweat and go off as a cadre and affect change amongst communities together. I mean, we are already doing all of that. We're just doing it kind of separately, but it's going to be a lot more fun, a lot more powerful. We kind of do it as a crew. I mean, we are doing it as a crew. I mean, you know what I mean. Where good and bad disappear, and it all just is. Yes, it is. And that's, again, it's when we get to that simple place. Life is simple. People make their lives complicated. People blame other people for their fucked up life. No, it's your decision. It was your decision. I wanted to be a rock and roll star and not have any responsibility. And then I loved this woman and she wanted to have babies. And so I got married. Well, if you didn't want to get married, you shouldn't have gotten married. Yes. So how long, John, were you at the door listening?
Just got here.
Just got here.
Wait, listen to this song.
I'm listening to the song.
Every time I walk down the street, I see a woman I like to be.
Oh, it's gay sounding. I came down here we're by ourselves. Bro, get out of here.
Erection.
Wait, listen.
Turn it off, John, so they don't take this. Turn it, John. Turn it off. Turn it off. YouTube will take this off because of that song.
No, I don't think they have a copyright on it.
Well, turn it off, please. You can listen to it later.
It's supposed to be Van Damme singing a song.
Well, I just, they watch everything we do here. So, I mean, you can sing the song. You can, yeah, erection, right.
Sorry, I don't know. Erection. The whole song's about, the whole song is called. It's called Erection. I got erection. It's supposed to be Van Damme.
Come on, John, don't play it. I don't want them to take this down. I'm going to go back in the room. You can play it all along you want. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Anyway, so he's at the door playing it and listening. Come on, John. I don't want YouTube to take this down. Okay, guys. I guess ay, ay. So that's what I have to deal with every day. And I was telling a friend of mine the other day that, I don't give up on my friends, even though, and he goes, yeah, but you've been working on it. I said, well, what it really does, it's actually a blessing to me because it sharpens my pencil of empathy, It sharpens my pencil of patience. People, you're a saint. No, I've just been doing this for 2 years. It's like practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice. So, and why do you think I do 2 of these chats a day? My freaking sanity. Anyway, so the sun is seemingly stopping to rain. It is probably getting towards noon. I think I might go to the library. I have a few errands. No, I couldn't do that. This guy is like, so I have to be, like I said, no, this is my choice to, this is, and I see it that, everything, if you look for the best in every situation, what you can make yourself better by doing this. Instead of going, oh, this is too hard. Oh, why am I doing this? I'm not making any money at it. Oh, why am, no. If you say, this will give me a perspective that I don't have right now. This will enable me to, do this later, Yes, buddy, go to sleep. I'll be there with you in dream time. Yep, so it's all good. Let's see, what time is it? So at 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 10 seconds, which will be just in a few seconds, I will say, I love you guys. I'll see you tonight, 7 p.m. Stay well. Have a great day, night, good night's sleep, all the rest. Love you. Night, buddy.